welcome back to Talk Tuesdays, a series dedicated to empowering youth and families and communities through real conversations that inspire growth and action. This series is brought to you by Step Foundation Inc., where advocacy meets education for the betterment of young minds. I'm Eleni Alvarez, your host and peer educator here at Step Foundation. And this October, we're going to be focusing on something that is not always easy to talk about, but is absolutely necessary: bully prevention and its deep connection to mental health. October is National Bullying Prevention Month, and over the next few weeks, we're going to be creating a space where the truth is told, voices are heard, and healing begins. Whether it's bullying at school, cyberbullying online, or harmful behaviors that go unnoticed, we're going to be breaking it all down: what it looks like, how it feels, and what we can do to stop it. Bullying just don't leave bruises, but it can leave scars on confidence, mental wellness, and self-worth. But here's the truth: we can change that by learning how to recognize the signs, stand up for ourselves and others, and build environments rooted in kindness and respect. We become part of the solution. This month episode, we're going to be including honest conversations, practical tools, expert advice, and real stories that remind us you're not alone, you're worth it of respect, and together we can rise above bullying. Over to you, Maya.
Hi, everyone. So my first question is, how did you go from feeling powerless to becoming an upstander? So not a bystander, but somebody who steps in.
I'll say for me by just doing. I think sometimes the fear sets in on what we feel we should do. And so oftentimes we just don't do because we're scared to do it. But I became an upstander by just voicing the things that I've seen or sharing my story with others. I think we become upstanders when we're able to share the things that we see and what we know with others so that they know that they too have a voice that they can use. Um, we become powerless when we don't say things. It makes a difference when we're able to share a story, because then we get to see that we're not alone. Like whether you are being bullied or you are the bully, like you will get to see that you are not alone. I think even when it comes to like being an upstander as a bully, being able to use your voice and say, I need help. Because again, it comes from somewhere. So I think the power comes when we start using our voice and just saying the things that we see, saying how it hurts, even. Because I think that too is a huge part of being an upstander, being able to recognize when it hurts and when we need the help. So being vulnerable, I'll say, helps us to become better upstanders.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna ask another question. I don't know if anyone had anything else to add. Um, did you ever witness another bystander stepping in before you? If so, how did it inspire you?
Seeing that, I've definitely seen that happen before. Seeing that really makes you realize that you're definitely not alone. Other people definitely do want to help, and realize that everyone have a voice. With that voice, you can use that voice for a lot of things. Let that be helping other people that are getting bullied, maybe helping the bully find out and realize what they're doing isn't okay. Maybe even like directing those people to like help sources and other ways so that they can find that confidence, or like being that friend that's standing there by their side and trying to help them even rebuild that confidence and bring that voice back in them and that light that they had before. definitely seeing that can inspire you to do a lot of things, and it can definitely inspire you to like jump in whenever you can when you see it. Because just being a bystander and watching and having that fear, it's a really, really big reason why people don't do more. Or even better, when people be afraid that it's gonna get turned back on them, and that retaliation from multiple different sources, that is also a very big fear factor. So having um that that trust that it's not going to backfire on you, and it's going to do more good than harm to not just you but the community, is definitely going to be reassuring.
Yeah, like Abby said and Lamar, your voice is your power. Um, a lot of people don't use it because they're scared they're gonna get the bully back or harassed. I don't know. But if you see someone being bullied, speak up because that is somebody else's life, and maybe they're in danger. Maybe they're going through depression. You don't know what is going behind that person. So use your voice to speak up, and you're not alone either. There's a lot of people that's gonna be on your side. They're gonna be helping you. So speak up. That's the only thing I can say.
I know after last week's episode, we was kind of having like a a sideline discussion, right? And talking about some of those key parts of bullying and you know how this affects us like personally, right? And I remember bringing it up to you guys. We're gonna pull in some statistics. So the U.S. Department of Education released a statement saying that bystanders are present in about 85% of bullying incidents. So we're talking about people who are just standing there doing absolutely nothing. And I know we talked last week and the week before about, you know, the amount of fighting that happens within the schools and the students who want to record on their phone versus going to get help or saying a thing. But the inaction is the biggest part of the problem, right? The people who are just standing there and watching a thing happen without getting help for others. But studies also show that if bystanders were to intervene, bullying stops almost instantly, with 57% of cases ending within 10 seconds. And it's not about you going and putting yourself in front of somebody else. It's literally about you just saying stop. People continue because nobody's doing anything and nobody's saying anything. So essentially, when we're not saying and doing, we're telling them that it's okay for them to do what they're doing. So I think those are some of the things that we also need to keep in mind. Like, in order to be an upstander, it doesn't require you to really put yourself in danger. It just requires you to speak. And whether it's you speaking as if, I'm about to call the police or I'm about to get that teacher, oftentimes it'll stop in that moment because they heard that somebody of authority is coming or they heard that somebody is on their way. They'll stop and move on. So you could have essentially helped a person who was getting bullied.
I also think there's a lot of people that don't acknowledge or they don't have the maturity of what is bullying. And yet they record their phone, they're laughing, but they don't know what is going on behind that person who's being bullied. So, yeah, I feel like maturity is not there enough with those kids.
Well, remember we had this conversation too, right? The parents are doing it too, y'all. So again, we talked about like those fight videos that's circulating around. Half those fight videos are circulating around because adults are sharing it and laughing at it and pointing and not recognizing the damage that's being done. So I think it goes both ways. I mean, we're looking at adults who should have the maturity to stop a thing that's continuing to allow it to evolve into something bigger than what it is. So I agree with you, Ilani. Like the maturity level for our students is sometimes definitely not there. But then where's the maturity level of our adults that are watching and sharing and laughing and saying that it's okay?
And then again, we also had this conversation last time. It comes from somewhere. It comes from the parents, it comes from the environment, it comes from the community, it comes from the spaces around them. So where are they really getting this from? And if these adults are sharing these videos, then clearly there's someone in the community. They're probably getting it from them because it's probably good entertainment and it's probably getting them some type of value. Let it be money, let it be like fame in the community, let it be recognition. So they're getting it from somewhere and it's continuing that cycle. It's a full circle moment. The kids are getting it from the adults, or should I say the adults around them and the kids around them. And then when they actually go and do something, the same adults that they're getting it from are circulating these videos and making, basically validating what they're doing, even though we know it's wrong. They don't know that. That's all they've ever known. Because again, these adults are validating them. So it's going full circle and the cycle keeps repeating until somebody tries to stop it. And even then, it's gonna keep going with again and again and again because that's all they know until a big change is implemented in that community. There is nothing that's gonna stop that cycle until someone tries to intervene. And even then, if the cycle's going on too long, it's gonna get harder and harder to intervene in that cycle because again, it keeps going full circle and full circle because these kids and these people get more and more desensitized in the community to all this, and it comes more and more normal. It's not normal. So the question is, where are we going to intervene and who's going to intervene to begin with? Because if everyone's just seeing that it's okay, like where is the change going to stop? Where's the cutoff going to be?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that leads me into the next question, which is what role do peer dynamics play in whether someone acts?
I could give you 3 answers off the bat. Peer pressure, peer validation, but also let's not forget that adult validation as well. Because some of these adults are just as mature as the kids, which is the problem. They're just gonna say it directly. Some of these adults are validating the kids because they're on the same level as them, which is the problem. If they can't find that authority and tell them to stop what they're doing because it's so damaging and negative, where is that cutoff going to be again? Where is the adult going to intervene to have that authority to tell them, yo, this isn't right. You shouldn't be doing this. But it also not just on the adults, it's on the peers too. That peer validation. See, what they're doing is a cycle. Let's say a group of kids tells them to stop, they're probably going to stop. But if it's just one group of kids and the whole rest of this area or like school is telling them to keep going and keep doing what they're doing and they're validating what he's doing, then where is that impact going to be? It's that one against a whole bunch of others. So where are you going to pour that attention to? The quiet little one that's the quiet little voice in the back that's telling you to stop, or that loud voice that's telling you to keep going and keep doing what you're doing. So we need to find the impact. Now, peer pressure is a whole separate side of that because they're getting on you to keep doing what they're doing. They're making these little comments. And they even might be threatening to do something. Like some of them might be threatening to fight you. Some of them might be threatening to embarrass you in front of a lot of people. Some of them are going to be doing all these things, and like it's just going to keep going until someone finds that cutoff or someone finds that courage to tell that group to stop, or they find that impact in their lives to tell them to stop, really think about what they're doing and how much damage it's going to do.
I gotta commend you for your peer pressure, peer validation, and adult validation. I think those are like the perfect keys when we talk about the dynamic of how peers play a role. We know that statistics have shown us since forever, right, that students learn better from students. Now, we know adults play a role in student learning, whether it's parents or teachers or administrators, whatever. We know adults do play a role. However, students learn better from other students. So when you have students who are being shown that being the bully is okay, right? It's essentially telling other kids that being the bully is cool. If we're going to go down that road of what's cool versus what's not. Lamar, you brought up a really good point when you talked about having this small group of students who want to do the right thing in a school of 1,000, right? How likely is it that there will be a change that is made? I think back, right, to when you see a teacher in a classroom with maybe 25 kids in the room, and you got 2 kids over there playing around. They're the class clown, making all the noise. And what ends up happening? Everybody in the room starts laughing, right? And now the teacher is upset because she's telling other students not to laugh. Why is that? So I'm gonna bring you back, Lamar, because again, like I know at the age where you are, like we're talking about middle school activities and even high school activities, right? A thing happens in the classroom, everybody erupts in laughter, and the teacher's like, stop laughing, do your work. Why is she telling y'all to stop laughing?
Because she wants to control the class. She wants order back. From before it was going, all that stuff was going on, and that class erupted in laughter because of that. There was order before.
Correct.
Now there's
But
not.
not, but I'm a dig just a little bit deeper even into that, right? In the scenario that you gave earlier, where we're talking about you got maybe 5 kids that are in a group and they want to do the right thing, they want to stop that bully from bullying. But then you got a whole group surrounding that bully that's laughing at the actions that he's taking. Everybody that's laughing is telling the bully what he's doing is okay.
They're
So
validating it.
exactly, that's that validation. So now here you are in a classroom of 25 and you got 2 kids that are doing all the wrong things and the entire class is laughing. The entire class laughing is telling those 2 kids that what they're doing is okay. So the teacher is not just trying to restore order. She's trying to instill the fact that what they're doing is not okay. That is not the cool thing to do, right? Now, I get it. There are some things that's going to tickle your funny bone. I get it. And sometimes we laugh at some of the worst things in the world. But then we have to remember that we got to check ourselves, right? Because now we got to look at, well, if we laughing at it, we're telling them that what they're doing is okay, even if it's hurting somebody else. So sometimes we do have to check ourselves, because how would we feel if it was us on the other end? Put yourself in their shoes is what I'm saying. And so I think in order for peer dynamics to really play a role, our students have to learn empathy. And true empathy, like putting yourself in the place of the person who's getting the damage. How would you feel? How would you want somebody to come to your defense or to your rescue when you feel like you're voiceless or powerless? So we have to learn to put ourselves in other people's shoes and do the right thing, even if we got to check ourselves.
That
You
is
know,
absolutely true.
oh, you know what I was thinking is out of topic, but the movies when you see the bullies with the big group, I think you know why they're friends with the bully? Because they don't want to be bullied or they want to be popular. They're scared.
That's true. That is 100% true. The bullies that walk around with really big friend groups, a lot of them are not friends with the bully because they really want to be their friend. They don't want to be on the receiving end. So they're going to laugh at all the jokes. They're going to follow them around. Like they essentially become the person that's doing the dirty work for the bully. Yeah.
I think
So,
you guys. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
oh, yeah, my bad. But again, it's that validation, but it's that validation not because they genuinely think it's okay. It's because they don't want to be on that hurting end. So they're going to try to avoid that at all costs because they see it happen. And then they're afraid of what's going to happen to them if they don't play along. So now they're playing along to avoid them getting hurt, even if it leads to other people getting hurt. It's that selfish mentality. But sometimes you got to learn that just you doing one action can help a lot of people in the long run. Because if you keep validating that, it's just gonna keep going and going, and more kids are gonna get more and more hurt. It's gonna do more and more damage over time. So at some point, you gotta find um a way to stop it before too many people get hurt and something really bad happens to another person.
I agree. I think this like prompt made me think about like a story from like middle school, something that I experienced. Well, not me, but like people I was friends with. So I had a friend group and there's two girls in the group. Um, One of them, like, I don't know, let's call her Kayla. Kayla used to talk about uh Shelly and say, like, talk about Shelly's weight. And Shelly and Kayla were both like had weight on them. And I thought it was really interesting because like I had spent like more time with Kayla and I knew it was something she struggled with, like something she's dealing with in her whole life. Like her mom would tell her, like, you need to lose weight and all these things. And I think it was really hard for her. But then I was like, why are you talking about Shelly? So I remember like in the friend group, we all called her out and then like she didn't say anything, but she did stop. And I think it happened for as long as it did because like none of us were saying anything because it was one of those like awkward things in like a peer friend group where like, okay, girl, we don't have to call you out, but like, why are you doing this? You're making things weird. And like, we know you're dealing with the same problem. So why are you being mean to somebody else? So I think when we all like actually stepped up and said something, like that's when it did stop. And I think sometimes it's really like uncomfortable because it requires bravery. I think it also requires empathy too, so yes.
I gotta say, look, listen, that's like the perfect example. And it happens like that often, where there's the person who's struggling with the exact same thing that they're bullying the other person about. But one of the key parts of that, right? He said her mom did it to her, right? And so for her, it seemed normal because mom is telling me this, and this is the person who I'm supposed to believe and trust, right? So if she telling me that this is how I look, then it's okay for me to tell other people because she told it to me.
It was
So
so crazy because I knew her feelings were hurt by it because she would tell me, like,
mhm,
I wish my mom would stop saying this, but then we go to school and she'd do it to the other girl. And I'm like, what happened?
yeah. And I can almost guarantee you if it was brought up to mom how she felt, mom probably did it as if it was a joke and continued to do it. So I think this, even as parents, sometimes we have to learn to read the room too, right? We have to learn to look at our children's expressions to know if the words we're using are hurting and harming them, and taking that moment to stop. I know, again, oftentimes, like, us as parents, look, we didn't come with a manual. Raising kids don't have a manual, I know, but we also know how we feel when we hear things that hurt, or when we see things that we don't want to see or don't like to see. And we need to also remember that our little people have feelings too. And the things that we say and do definitely matter. especially for them and their mental health. So I think as parents, we do have to take a moment and recognize when our words hurt. We can say a thing and still be polite. I'm like, I want to word it correctly because I know for a lot of parents, I can say and do as I please because I'm the adult. We get it. We know. Adults, we know that we're the adult and they're the child, but there's still a way for us to share with our children disappointments without insults. So it definitely matters, and it definitely plays a role in how our kids treat others when we're not around.
Now, let me put this in a perspective where, in your scenario, Maya, something I love about this generation now is that in our friend groups and the people we feel comfortable with, we have no shame in calling people out at all. None. Like, we have no problems with that. Like, let's say in your scenario, right? This girl was calling this girl fat, even though they had the same problem. I guarantee you, at least 3 people in them friend group could be like, "Girl, you can't be talking. You got the same problem."
That's exactly what was being said, except to
Exactly.
her until we all said it
Like,
in
but even then, it wouldn't take as long at all. Like, it happened maybe tour after like the tour or twice, 2 or 3 time at all. At most, it's gonna happen after the 5th time, and even then, it's like it's a lot quicker. It's going to happen just as fast because with that observation, we can read if somebody is hurt or not a lot better than before in past generations because we're a lot more aware. And I really like seeing that because when you call somebody out, it's definitely going to stop that process a lot quicker and it's going to be quite effective in not really letting that person continue to hurt others in the same way that it hurt them. But even then, with that friend, you care about your friend. So you're going to be like, when they're being mean or when someone's being like disrespectful to them, you're going to call that person out.
I definitely got to give it to your generation because that's true. I've definitely witnessed it. Like
I see it every day.
Y'all will call a person out so fast, and it's a good quality to have. I think. Again, we talk a lot about self-reflection, right? And making sure like we're doing our part. And I feel like this generation of kids coming up definitely are about self-reflection, but also about calling people out. Now, accountability is still a problem. But
Yeah, that's been a problem. Yeah. I'm not even gonna argue with that. That's been a problem. But even then, you can see it every
y'all
day.
have no problem calling out others. But we're gonna work on that accountability with your generation because y'all also have to see the part that y'all play in some of this stuff.
We used to be playing the card we had in our hand.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I guess on the flip side, my next question is, have you ever regretted not intervening? If so, what did you learn?
I'll say this right now. No. Because 90% of the time I intervene. And even then, when I intervene, I be smooth. Like you gotta be able to not make it too awkward or too sudden, but at least make it powerful enough for that person to stop. Like let's use your example again, right? Let's say it's a friend group, it's your friend group, and somebody be doing that. You be like, you gotta look at him crazy for a second. Like, girl, what did you just say to her? Ain't y'all two got the same build? Why you talk about her? So you gotta make sure that you got a person out, and it can be in any situation. Let's say it's one of your friends, and they're in that other group, that, so you don't really know that well, and this group is being a little bit mean to your friend, right? You got to be like, hold up, why are y'all talking to them that way when he don't be doing nothing to y'all? What's y'all problem? And so that's really what we got to do. You definitely step in, and I've done that before on multiple occasions. But even then, like, stepping in is a really big part of preventing that further action.
I gotta agree with Lamar. I don't really have an instance where I regretted not doing a thing, because typically I am doing it. You know, I think back to, there was a time in high school, and I was watching this kid bully another kid, and it was like race related. And the crazy thing is like, the kid that was doing the bullying, we had so much dirt on this kid. Like, sir, is this really what we doing? And I think like that one day in class, I was probably just having a bad day. However, stop laughing, Amaya. Stop laughing. You know, I'm sitting, I'm trying to mind my business, okay? And I'm hearing it, and I'm like, seriously, and all you hear are the chuckles. And like, it literally had reduced the girl to tears. And I'm like, is this really what we doing? And so I'm like, okay, so nobody want to say nothing. And I remember like going in, like, if we're gonna talk, let's talk. You want to talk about her side, let's talk about yours. And so at this point, now the teacher wants to intervene. Now the teacher heard everything that was happening prior to me ever jumping in. And I'm looking like, so you gonna tell me to stop, but when he was talking about her, you had nothing to say. And the entire room is sitting there laughing to the point that this girl is hyperventilating and crying. And that's really what we gonna do? Oh, now I'm disrespectful. Well, I'll take that referral. Right. Is he getting one too? Because we can go down to this office together and we can keep talking about all the things that you do. It was just one of those moments where it's like, when is enough enough? And when do adults care to intervene when they're hearing things that they know are harmful to others? And again, I just feel like, and I know that the kid was one with status. Who cares? Yeah, that quotation, status, you know, because of who his parents were. And
Friends can go kick rocks. Look, and I hate when that happens. Something that will never be acceptable to anyone except for in that position is when they get special treatment because of who their parents are. And again, I've had this situation. We've already talked about my situation in fifth grade. This kid's mom was a teacher at the school, and he was being held up like the Messiah, and he was bullying other kids. Multiple kids were going to the office about this kid doing stuff to them, and they would punish those kids that went up to them trying to say something instead of punishing the kid actually doing it, and they saw it firsthand. The teachers did try to step in. It's just administration they were blind and could not see. They was in space on the moon, clearly, because it ain't nothing that was there, apparently. And they clearly just saw a kid just making up stuff about this one kid, even though they have cameras in the school. They can see and hear everything that's going on. They have multiple witnesses of entire classes because they could do this. This kid would do stuff in front of the entire class. In the hallway, in the classroom. It did not matter. He would do stuff. They would turn a blind eye every single time.
This goes back to that adult validation, right? The adults
Exactly.
that are validating all the bad behaviors instead of validating the good behaviors. And I, you know, I even think back to that one, right? When the school essentially continues to allow bullying to happen, they're basically telling the kids, you don't have a safe space. And that's a problem. right? And so I think when we talked about like how peers play a role and like what peers can do, and we, I kind of started with like, just do it, right? Like take the leap and really just do it. And it starts with saying something. Let's talk about what can you say? Because I think sometimes that too plays a role. And Lamar, thinking about in your case and thinking about like in Maya's case, and then the one like the example that I even brought up. Sometimes the distraction is all that's needed. So I'll say it again. The distraction sometimes is all that's needed. So think about it. The bully is fixated on a person. So they're like zeroed in on that person, but they're fixated on them because typically there's a crowd. So they have eyes and they get the attention that they're seeking because others are watching, they're laughing about it, and it makes them feel important. But if you ask a question, and you can ask the question really loud to just anybody, and it draws the attention away from the bully, they're gonna stop because now no eyes are on them, right? Even if you make a joke about something that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, just a random joke, and I gotta give y'all's generation a kudos for that too, because y'all found the weirdest moments to crack a joke. I don't even know. Like y'all would just crack a joke in the middle of nonsense. Don't got nothing to do with nothing. But in this case, right, that would be acceptable. Crack that joke. To have nothing to do with nothing. Some of it probably gonna make your classmates face palm because they're gonna be like, where did that come from? That was so random and what? But then they gonna laugh because it was so random.
That's
All
the
of
whole
those
point. They're gonna laugh because it was random. It came out of nowhere.
so random. But all of those things distract a bully from bullying. It takes the attention off of them and onto somebody else who's doing that essentially silly thing. But again, it's stopping a problem. So your intervention don't have to be directed towards the bully. Your intervention is taking away the attention. So I think when we think about like what can we do and how can we do it, it's thinking of ways that divert attention away from a person that's being a bully and find a way to get attention on somebody else or something else, but in a good way. Not like you being a bully and calling somebody out their name and all that stuff. Like finding better ways of diverting the attention. I think that's what we can kind of look at doing.
Because I'll say this, in that case with that bullying, that distraction is definitely going to be there. Like, you just got to find a good time for that distraction to happen. Like, but even then, I'll say this. If bullied is zero in on one kid and they get distracted, depends on what type of bully you have. They're either just going to completely quit because they don't have the attention, or they're going to try to fight back for that attention. So they're gonna try to do more and more crazy stuff until they get the attention they want. Because that joke, I mean, had nothing to do with nothing, only was that distraction for a short time. It didn't distract everybody. Everyone gonna be talking about it. But I feel like the strategic side of that is it also brings attention back to that bully. And it brings people more courage to maybe speak up instead of that on that bully. Now that they're trying to do something worse to that kid, they're gonna be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what is that? Can you like stop? So I'm definitely gonna help people bring up that courage to tell them to stop or try to intervene.
I agree. And I'll even say like a good majority of the time, once the attention is taken away, a good majority of them are not going to vie for the attention again because the attention is lost. So you got to remember, like your age group, y'all got the attention span of a gnat. It's shiny over here to the left. Look at the shiny object up at the top. Oh, we back down to the bottom. Like you guys literally have the attention span of like the gnat that we trying to swat away. So once you have flipped to something else, y'all are typically not going back. And so again, like this is why I say like the bullies typically are not gonna rile back up again because the attention is already gone. They might try again tomorrow because tomorrow's a new day for new attention. But in that instant, not quite. Because once the attention is gone, the attention is gone. And a lot of times, like you also got to remember for you guys with a short attention span, once y'all went, what did he just say? Half your class dispersing. Because now it's like, okay, that was so random. That was crazy. Did you see that? And now they walking off talking with their friends about how crazy it was. So the attention is literally gone. So there's no way for them to gain that attention back because half your class is going to be walking off. And then depending on how much of a distraction you created, staff is probably coming that way now anyway. So again, like once you've taken the attention away, it's done until the next day. So again, now the kid just has to worry about tomorrow, right? And hopefully somebody's there to kind of distract them tomorrow. But again, it's about taking it. Once you take the attention's gone.
And I'll say this, that is very true, especially with that fact where half the class is already dispersed and talking about it like, did you hear? And even then, half the other classes didn't even hear what he said. They're gonna be like, what did he just say? What happened? So half of them confused and half of them just laughing because they're like, huh? Now the other half that's confused just gonna start laughing because everyone else is laughing. So it takes that, it's that layer. You're layering on that distraction. So it's even better.
I agree. Guess my final question is, what advice do you have for shy students who want to speak up? I think I have some advice, just a little. I think from what I shared earlier, because I consider myself like more on the shy side, but I think what was really hard for me, like just standing by and not saying anything at first, was seeing how it impacted like my one friend. And I think just seeing somebody get like kind of down on themselves is really hard. So that was like my motivation to say something. Um, and yeah, I feel like Abby too, like when you shared your story, like seeing the girl cry in class, it sounded like that was like, okay, no, like something needs to happen. So I think if you're more of like a empathetic person or you tap into that, like use that as fuel to, I don't know, feel more courageous and don't let fear like, win out and you not saying something.
Now I'm gonna have some advice for them shy students right here. See, no matter how shy you are, no matter how silent you want to be, just calling them out once is enough. Do it the one time. It can be a one-time thing. They're probably gonna stop after that because they realize, oh, okay, it's not acceptable. All right, we good. But it just takes one time. That's all I'm gonna say. It only takes one. With that short friend group, it only takes one. And when you have a good backing supporting you, it's gonna be okay. You only takes one person, only takes one action.
I love it only takes one action. I think that's a key takeaway. Literally, it only takes one action. I think what I would say to students who feel shy, tell the adult. I mean, I know a lot of times like shy kids really don't want to be involved. Like they just don't want to stand up against a bully, or they don't want to stand up against their peers or be in the space where their peers may say or talk about them. Talk to the adult. If you're the shy kid and you just don't want eyes on you and like all those things make you nervous, sometimes just talking to another adult can go a long way, because you could be helping that the victim of the bully in that moment by just sharing what you've seen with an adult. And sometimes it may take you talking to more than one adult. But again, I feel like for my shy ones, you guys thrive more when it's a one-on-one personal or intimate setting versus being the person to do the distraction. Like that's probably not going to be you, and that's okay. You don't have to be the one that's doing the distraction. Let somebody else do it. But being able to go in and have a one-on-one with an adult that could possibly help is you doing your part. So I think the biggest thing is, no matter what role you play, big or small, you've done something, and that's all that matters.
Now, I'll even say this: 90% of the time, with you, being these shy kids, you're mostly seen as the quiet kid in your classroom, since you're so shy and you're quiet. You don't really want to get involved with anything. By saying something, you don't have much to lose in terms of reputation and all that. Most people don't really interact with you to them for the most part. So all that social status and all those fears are mostly out the window. And even then, you can do stuff through the adults anonymously. No one has to know it was you. So you can do things all undercover. You can do it anonymously. No one has to know it was you that did it. No one has to be like, oh, it was the client. They did something. No one has to be like, no one can have to really go after you, because again, they don't have dirt on you really, since you're so quiet. You don't tell anyone. They don't have anything they can take away. You already have everything. You already have everything. You're safe in your own space. Now, to help someone else in their own space is gonna be helpful, but you don't have to get out of your own space to do that.
I agree. This is great. Look, y'all really been rounding it up this month. I see y'all. Come on, crew. Come on, team. I think this has been an amazing topic. Hopefully whoever's listening, like, it's helping somebody somewhere, whether you're learning to speak up, whether you're learning to have a conversation about it, whatever the case may be. Hopefully you're taking something away from each one of these topics each week. I'm kind of excited for next week. We got 3 additional guest speakers that are tapping in next week to talk more about bully prevention. What's our week next week, Amaya? What's our last week about?
I think it's creating a culture of kindness.
Oh yeah. I love this because, again, when we think about like bullying, it all stems from unkind behaviors. So how do we change that? What does creating that culture look like? So I'm excited because I can't wait for us to tap into this. And I think the people who are jumping in with us next week are gonna be phenomenal. Carlos is coming back, and who do we have? Carlos is coming back. I think Malcolm will be back with us. And then we're gonna tap into Swelly as well. So coming back with that educator standpoint of bullying and creating that culture of kindness. So I think this is gonna be awesome to round us out for the month. Again, talking about bullying, I feel it's so imperative. I think we should have more conversations about bullying, but also talk about ways that we can change it. I think with a lot of things that come up, there's not enough talk about how do we change it? How do we create the culture for our kids to be and do better? So that being said, before I tap into what's coming up this month, I'm going to be turning it over to one of our very own youth leaders to deliver a special public service announcement for Bullying Prevention Month.
What's up, y'all? It's Unklicious. So, in the words of your host, it's Uncus. She be creating stuff on the fly now. I'm a junior youth program ambassador with STEPS Foundation. Y'all know this. But let's get real quick. Bullying don't just hurt feelings. It affects confidence, mental health, and sometimes it makes people feel invisible. But here's the truth right here. All of y'all deserve to feel safe, seen, and respected. And if no one else has told you this, you matter. Your voice matters. And you don't have to face bullying alone. You can come with your friends. You can come with a whole nother people. You can come with your crew. You don't gotta come in that office by yourself. You be like, you can have like 5 people with you there. Knock on that door. This month, we're not just talking about the problem. We being part of the solution. Whether that means standing up, speaking out, or simply just being kind, you have that power to change someone's day or even day life. Bullying has a big impact on somebody's life. It can turn them upside down completely. It can make them do a 180. I know by experience. So it can definitely change lives. Let's build a community where kindness is louder than hate. Be a friend, be an upstander, be the reason someone feels safe in their community and their space.
Come on, Uncas. That's the Unc and Cuz together. Uncas. All right. For upcoming events on November 1st, you guys, we have our very last barrier talks for our community partners focus group. And so we're inviting barbers, stylists, coaches, mentors, and other community leaders to come and share the real challenges that youth face with mental health and how we can all work to support them together. We want to make it better, guys. So if you work with youth in any way, we want your voice in the room. So definitely go online and register for that event. On November 16th, we have Gratitude in Bloom. I'm really excited about this one because as we talk about building a culture of kindness, it starts with gratitude. And so we're going to be creating a community gratitude garden mural and also making gratitude stones for you guys to take home, and then celebrating people and things that we're thankful for. It's a great way for you to spend time with your family. It's a peaceful and feel good afternoon with us on a Sunday. So to sign up or learn more about any of our events, head over to www.stepsfoundation.org/events and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Steps Foundation Inc. for updates, stories, and more ways that you and your family can get involved. So to every teen that is listening tonight, again, your voice matters and your feelings are valid. And even if the world hasn't always been kind to you, you have the right to be treated with dignity and care. Bullying prevention starts with conversations like this and continues with the choices we make each and every day to support one another. Thank you guys for being a part of this month's Talk Tuesday series. Keep showing up for yourself, keep speaking up for others, and keep believing that better is always possible. As always, y'all know my saying, right? Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep leading the way.